Hello everybody, welcome back to Doha where Group B thankfully resumes for match day 4 today. I'm fed up about talking about COVID. Come on, this is I'm here in Doha, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and COVID is trying its absolute best to ruin things for the OFC and for the competing sides. But thankfully, the 2 games will go ahead today, so there's 2 match previews coming up. This is of course the first to talk about Papua New Guinea versus New Caledonia, the kickoff at 5 p.m. in Qatar at the Qatar SC Stadium. Both sides losing on match day 2, or the first match day in this group. So this fixture is absolutely critical. Neither side can afford to lose, but I'd also argue neither side can afford to draw. I think both must win this game. Papua New Guinea will have some confidence. They didn't concede from open play against New Zealand. It was a quick free kick. They were undone. They were furious about that. The rest of the game, they didn't get broken down. Now, that was in New Zealand, admittedly without the likes of Chris Wood, but there was still some top talent there. And of course, Winston Reid at the back as well, who really nullified every Papua New Guinea attack. New Caledonia won't have that same defensive solidity. They, of course, conceded 2 to Fiji in a 2-1 defeat, including that last-minute winner from Nalabu for Fiji. Now, how much can we read into that game? I'm not too sure. I think that we can look at New Caledonia and say that they're not defensively the strongest side. They were on the front foot, certainly in the second half. But they were still looking a little bit susceptible to the counter-attack. Now, Nalabu and Krishna are both very physically powerful players, but I would argue that Gunemba and Tommy Semi for Papua New Guinea boast similar athleticism that will allow them to play well on the counter-attack. I think that Papua New Guinea, the challenge for them is they're going to have a little bit more of the ball. They weren't actually bad on the ball against New Zealand. They weren't great, but they weren't bad on the ball against New Zealand. They didn't have a shot on goal, but again, we're talking about Papua New Guinea effectively trying to get past Winston Reid, a top-class central defender, a Premier League standard, and top level across Europe. All right, yeah, he wouldn't play for the best teams, but he could still do it in the top leagues across Europe, Winston Reid, and he didn't really have to get out of second gear. How much can we read into that? Emile Beroun made a critical error against Fiji. He'll probably be playing again today as captain of New Caledonia. Can the likes of Semi and Gunemba get at him? I believe that they probably can. The back 4 for Papua New Guinea, probably the strongest back 4 that I've seen from a side in terms of across the board, excluding New Zealand, you'd have to say, with Upayega, the Comalongs, and Joe making up a very, very solid back 4. A back 4 that really nullified every threat from New Zealand until that quick free kick late on. It's going to be an interesting one. If I was Papua New Guinea, I would probably go as close to the same lineup as you possibly could. It depends on the injury situation with players like Muta, but he might swap out for someone like Foster in this game. Whereas if I was New Caledonia, I would probably be ringing the changes. Richard Sele came on in the second half, got the assist with one of the most stunning balls I've seen. Probably the most stunning bit of play I've seen at this tournament, actually. And I would be starting Richard Sele. I would also be looking at whether or not Morgan Matalon is the right player to lead the line. Based on what I saw from both games previously in this group, I think that Matalon would get bullied by Comalong. Both Comalongs, actually. I think wherever he put himself, he'd get bullied by them. So I would be saying, I think this would be, for me, the time to start Bertrand Kai and get Bertrand. Okay, yes, he's a bit older, but I'd be getting Bertrand to try and impose himself on this game if I was New Caledonia. Again, you look at the rest of the side, how many changes would you make? Probably not that many. I thought that it's going to be Richard as opposed to Richard for New Caledonia was good in the second half going forward, but didn't have the same dynamism as Richard Sele, which is why I'd make that change. And I think one thing that's key for them is to go through, I think it's Decore, that there's lots of ways you could pronounce it. Cedric, number 17 for New Caledonia. Obviously, they're all French names, so I'm struggling slightly with the pronunciation. I think he's going to be pivotal to this game to try and dominate that midfield battle. If I had to say how I think this game's going to go, I think that Papua New Guinea will be more confident, and I think that they will probably be looking to, again, try and employ some counter-attacking tactics into this game. I think that they'll be expecting New Caledonia to have probably slightly more of the ball. I think that the back four will be key. I think Papua New Guinea will be eyeing up a clean sheet in this game and then looking to kind of hit on the counter-attack and try and get a goal. If they can do that in the first half, they can then just shut up the shop even more. The first goal in this game, absolutely pivotal. I would say I'd sort of put myself out there, as I always have to do on these things, and say whoever scores the first goal, I think will win this game, because I just think, especially if it's Papua New Guinea, if they go 1-0 up, they can really sit back. That back four is so solid. They can just spring that counter-attack with Tommy Semi as much as possible and try and pick off a New Caledonia side that did look weak defensively. Despite the good attack of Fiji, we have to credit Fiji to a certain extent, but I still feel like New Caledonia didn't look solid at the back. Key players for New Caledonia, as I've already said, will be that number 17, Doucouré. However it is correctly pronounced. And I also think I expect to see Sanso as well. Physical threat, big, powerful player. I think he's about 6'5", man mountain. I think he'd be useful in this game. I think that set pieces is something we've not seen enough goals from in this tournament. I think having a player of his physical stature on could cause PNG some problems. Certainly it will ask PNG some questions. Again, a player that we have to shout out is Warasan. He had a ridiculously good game against New Zealand, made some stunning saves, and he really was my man of the match. Probably, he deserved the clean sheet, really. I think, again, if he has another good performance, all of these things I'm saying are just convincing myself more and more of a narrow Papua New Guinea win in this game. Having said that, caveating my own prediction of a 1-0 or 2-0 to Papua New Guinea, I think we've seen the best of Papua New Guinea in their first game against New Zealand. I don't think we've seen close to the best of New Caledonia. They have 1 or 2 levels to go up. Again, I'm sure of it. And they will have to do that in this game. The winner has a chance. The loser is out. The loser is out. They go home. Yeah. So now that's not mathematically true, but it's technically true in many regards, because you're not. Actually, it might. Yes, it must be. It must be mathematically true. Because there's no way that they could then win and come above one of the 2 other sides in Fiji and Papua New Guinea, who you expect to also be on 3 points after the game today. I think a narrow Papua New Guinea win is my prediction, but I would love to hear from you. Do you support either of these sides? You probably support Papua New Guinea, because if you support New Caledonia, you might not be able to understand what I'm saying because they speak French. Having said that, it's just, English people that can't speak other languages, unfortunately, so I'm sure that the Papua New Guinea fans can understand me and can speak good English. So if you are from either of these places or anywhere else in the Oceania region, drop a comment below. What are your predictions for this game? How do you see it going? And don't forget to watch the video that is also going to be posted about the same time for the other fixture, which is, of course, Fiji versus New Zealand. That's all from us, and we will see you next time.